Hi, I'm Peter Birch and welcome to my channel. If you're a newcomer, thanks for finding me. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification button to continue to join the adventure. Today we're going to be talking about long-term captive care of reptiles. Welcome to CritterCam. So the topic today is long-term captive care of reptiles. Now, let's just think of that for a moment. In this day and age, it's very rare for a lot of people to keep a reptile more than 5 years, which is absolutely mind-boggling. These animals can live such a long period of time. And let's just bring it into perspective. Here's a couple of animals that I've had for a little bit longer than most people. And I guess most people that have been keeping reptiles, if not people that are old enough to keep reptiles. So this girl here is Nipper. She is a black-headed python. She's one of the very first black-headed pythons I produced. Now this girl here was produced in 1996. One of the very first pythons, if not black-headed pythons, that I ever produced in captivity. It's not a bad way to start your the hobby, I guess. Most of these animals that I'm going to showcase today have been around since about the early 90s, because in Australia, especially in New South Wales, it was illegal to keep reptiles on a licensing system until about 1996-97, where there was an amnesty, licenses were issued, and then we went off and running, and then permits started happening. So it was really great, which meant the opportunity for most reptile lovers, the floodgates open. You could start to buy and acquire animals that you had only ever dreamt of keeping before, including something like this big, gorgeous, black-headed python. Oh, now she definitely is a bit of a beast, an absolute thumper at that. Now, luckily enough, you know, long-term captive care is not just about keeping an animal in captivity, keeping it in a cage, whether it be a plastic tub or a rack system, which we've described before and talked about, or big, fancy, naturalistic enclosures or bioactive systems. I mean, there's so many different options, but you've got to weigh up the options for each individual species of animal, I guess. To keep an animal like this in a bioactive system, here in New South Wales, especially where I am, high annual rainfalls, a lot of humidity, it's going to cause a lot of problems, especially with bioactive systems. Got to keep all those little bugs happy, as well as all the plants and everything else. So I choose to keep these in these big cages here. These big cages are 2.4 meters, which is about 8 feet long, by 2 feet by 2 feet. These guys are a terrestrial species, so they don't really need to climb or move around, but they definitely do need to stretch their bodies out. They do have quite long lungs, and I find that if you don't have these bigger pythons in bigger cages where they can stretch out their lungs, they'll start to get respiratory problems. Basically, they'll start to get a little bit of fluid sitting on their lungs. So when we go right back to the topic of today, which is long-term captive care. Now, obviously, it's the same level of care we give to our animals every single day. The difference is it's not just for a week, it's not just for 6 months, it's not just for a year. Now, this animal here is over 20 odd years old, like I said before, 1996. I mean, that is not a bad effort for a cool looking python, especially the black-headed pythons. And these guys are sneaky little buggers. I mean, you turn your back, they'll flick around, touch your hand, and the next minute they're attached. Absolute gorgeous animals. So that's the reason why, or that's one of the reasons why long-term captives, we need to be very cautious in what we're doing and how we're doing it, not only for ourselves, but also for our animals. Now, I'm going to get Pippi out. Pippi is a little bit bigger, requires a little bit more hands-on. This is Pippi, another one of my gorgeous long-term captive animals, an absolute beautiful creature. And as you can see, she's getting close to coming out of the shed, and she's getting all these little bubbles of fluid under the skin here, allowing the new and the old skin to separate. She's a good big girl. Oh. And there again, guys, when we're talking long-term captive animals, we're talking 2 different species so far with very much different sort of requirements. Olive's quite active compared to the black-headed pythons. Black-headed pythons are big slugs basically, just sit there, eat and don't really do much except for poop. Olives are a little bit more adventurous. These guys will climb given the opportunity, and when they've got quite heavy bodies, we need to make sure that their bodies are very well supported during the process, because we don't want to slip and hurt a back, because when they get quite large, and these guys will get up to 20 kilos, and as you can see, Pippi is getting to be a big girl. She's coming right for you guys. Come on, Pip. Yeah, absolute gorgeous animals. And the problem with these guys here in captivity is they get overfed. That's the biggest problem with olive pythons. These guys are like garbage disposals. They'll eat everything and anything. And I mean, we're going to be really cautious about overfeeding them and feeding them too fatty food items. They'll end up with fatty liver syndrome, very similar to the black-headed pythons. Black-headed pythons are just absolute garbage disposals. Olive pythons are absolutely amazing animals. And the beauty about these guys is if you look after them right, you're going to get 20 odd years out of them. The Pippi here was hatched in 1995. There again, I acquired her in 1996. Sounds like a long period of time, but a good friend of mine, Scott Iper, he's got an olive that's over 30 odd years old. And there's Brookie Harrison, she's also got one that's quite long-lived animals. So these guys are an absolute pleasure to work with. But there again, there's the commitment, guys. When you make the commitment to purchase these animals, please don't be purchasing from a short period of time. Make sure you're going to take them in for the long haul. That's where you start to really see and admire these beautiful creatures for what they are and their long-term relationship that you guys are going to build with these spectacular creatures. Now, I've got one more animal to show you, and it's probably a little bit closer to where all my dreams started. I'll put Pippi away and we'll get cracking onto that. I always call the olives the gentle giants. When they're out of their cage, they're quite pleasant to work with. When they're in their cages, especially around food, I tell you what, they're a force of their own. Alright, the last animal that I would like to show and talk to you guys today is this guy here. This is Spot. Yes, Spot is my spotted python. He is Antaresia maculosus. This guy hatched in 1994 and I acquired him in early 1996. He was just a small little hatchling basically. Absolute gorgeous dream animal to keep, and of course that inspired me to keep the smaller pythons, which I really have coined a name for, the Dirt Snake King, and that's me now, the Dirt Snake King. These guys are an absolute dream to work with, and like I said, Spot has been part of that journey for me all these years, and he still remains one of my best little friends. I mean, look at that gorgeous little face. How could you not fall in love with him? He is an absolute dream. I used to do a lot of mobile exhibiting or educational shows, and Spot was a big part of that, and so was Pippi that you've seen earlier. So long of these guys are long-term, long-lived animals, and I mean, these guys can live 30 to 40 years if we look after them right. And that is a huge responsibility for us as reptile keepers, making sure that these animals are living long, happy, healthy lives. Longevity is the key to everything, and I really believe that good captive husbandry will allow these animals to live long periods of time, especially in captivity, and regardless of how we keep them in boxes, in cages, in fancy naturalistic enclosures, bioactive systems, all the rest of it. It doesn't matter if you keep 10 snakes or 1,000 snakes or even 5 snakes. If you're not doing it right, you're not doing the animals any justice. Make sure the animals are always in great condition, and therefore they will love you back as much as you love them. They are our pets, remember. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. I know Spot did. Make sure you hit me up on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Until next time, guys, if you really like the show, make sure you hit the like button. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and thank you so much for your continued support. Thanks for watching Critter Cam.